Hi guys, how's everybody doing? Today we have a special edition talking about our own domestic league. So it's been an exciting season in the 2014-15 Persian Gulf Pro League with only 2 weeks left. There are a lot to fight for at both ends of the table with so much that has happened throughout the season. We'll try to analyze this campaign in the next hour or so. So today we're joined by our two regular panels, Pezhman Pars and Sina Saemian. How you guys doing?
Hi guys, it's great to speak to you.
Thank you. So the first topic we want to talk about is Persepolis. So we've seen they've had an atrocious season, and the one today a lot of Persepolis fans wants to forget about. They've been finishing runners-up last season. 3 manager problems that they have to switch on and off, and many problems on end of the pitch. So it's been a frustrating season overall for them. So my first question to you guys is, what's gone wrong for Persepolis, and whose fault is it? Is it the management, the staff, the players? I mean, just give me a brief overview of what you guys think is the main problem right now happening to this team. Sina, I'm going to start off with you.
Yeah, as you said, it's been a very frustrating season for everyone involved with Persepolis. They finished runners-up last season, and with Ali Dai in charge, they had a great team. I mean, one of the reasons why they did finish that position last season was their defence, with back 5, including the goalkeeper of Nilsson in goal, and Hossein Mahini, Jalal Hosseini, Mostana Bengar, and Mehrdad Pouladi. They had a very strong defence. But if you compare that to this season, 4 out of that 5 have left. Nilsson has been replaced by Sosha Makoni, who has been below par, to say the least, this season. Mahini had to go to Malaban on loan because of military service issue. He was kind of replaced by Khanzadeh, and then in January a player named Babakar Hatami came from Saiba. And Jalal Hosseini, we know what a great player he is. We've watched him for many years at Team Melli, and he's pretty much irreplaceable. And Pouladi, Pouladi left for the same reason as well, for military service issues, and now he plays in Qatar. And defensively, they've been all over the place. They've conceded a lot of goals, a lot of individual mistakes at the back. The goalkeeper alone, Sosha Makoni, I think he scored like 3-4 on goals this season. So it's been a season to forget. And since Dai left 4 or 5 games into the season, they appointed Hamid Darakhshan against what the fans demanded, and he didn't do well as expected. And he was sacked over a month ago, and former Team Melli manager Branko Ivankovic came in, and he after 4 or 5 games, he just about won his first game last week. So it's been a turbulent season, and there's been a lot of change in the club, in the top of the club pyramid as well, with so many chairmen changing. I think they've had 2 or 3 chairmen as well. So it's been chopping and changing all over the club, and I think a lot of stability all over the club is needed, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch.
Pezhman?
Yeah, great stuff by Sina. I agree with him. And as he said, I think the structural problem with Iranian football is visualized by how Persepolis is run. How the mismanagement in the club is so open and so easy for everybody to see. Even if you're not into football, you can see that it's something that's not right in Persepolis and also Esteghlal. Basically, it's 2 big teams that you don't really know who to turn to when you want to talk about who the owner is and who is allowed to do what. And we saw that when Ali Dai left. 2 guys both claimed that they had more or less ownership of Persepolis. Said one guy wanted to sack Dai, and the other guy said you can't do it without me allowing you. That it's been a farce basically, and that's something that every Persepolis manager will have to deal with, as long as we don't get a real structural change in Iranian football, starting with the big teams such as Persepolis and Esteghlal. So I think it was also wrong to sack Dai because it was maybe too short into the season, and not a decision that it was a decision that wasn't really allowed by everyone in the club, and that's also something that's weird in my eyes. And Derakhshan made a poor short season that he was there, and Ivankovic, I can't see him staying for over the next season as well, unless Persepolis do as they always do, they sack managers and don't pay them their salaries.
Thank you. So the next point we want to talk about is Esteghlal, another big giant in Tehran, which they've had a fairly, decent start to the season, but now it seems like with the lack of form, they even might miss out on the title, which will happen most likely, and the fourth place in order to secure the ACL spot. So Sina, coming off with you, do you think they've underachieved?
I would say so. I think at the beginning of the season, after Esteghlal missed out on a Champions League spot last season, there was a lot of expectations to bounce back from that. And Valenoy, of course, being one of the most successful managers in domestic Iranian football, there was a lot expected from him. And they were in the title race until 4 or 5 weeks ago when results started going against them, and they got completely out of the title race now, and they are a very long way up Champions League spot. So they have a lot to do. Again, there's even more criticism for Valenoy now, mostly because of the way he treated the players. The fans criticised him for the way he dealt with the departure of Mehdi Rahmati in the summer, and as we know, Andranik left in the January transfer window too, and he currently plays for Turk Sazi. So it's been not similar to Persepolis in terms of results, but they have underachieved. I think a lot of the fans will tell you they expected the team to at least challenge for the title until the last week, considering the team that they have. I mean, a lot of their players are current internationals, and they haven't been performing at all. I mean, Sadeghi and Bekzad in defence, Haydari to a certain extent, they haven't really been showing the form that they showed for the Iranian national team.
So, Pezhman, Sina pinpointed about the criticisms of Valenoy and stuff, and his job security is probably on the line now, and he might even potentially get sacked with the way things are going. What do you see about the criticism towards the coaching staff? Should Valenoy be worried about his job?
I think if Valenoy will stay in Esteghlal, as Sina said, it was only 4 or 5 weeks ago that Esteghlal started to get bad results. Until then, they were a serious candidate for the title. Although it shows some weakness when it's really up to game, and when you're really supposed to get results, they didn't manage to get that. But Valenoy is Esteghlal in some sense, and it's hard. I can't see how Esteghlal will replace him with somebody who is better than him in what he does. He has a lot of national team players, a lot of old players though, and we saw that they bought in Enoyati. I don't know how old he is, old enough to show that this team mainly relies on experience of these national team players. They are really good, but let's face it, they're old enough, and they're too old to make Esteghlal a threat for the next season. Hopefully, Valenoy will reckon that and know that he have to make some big changes. Hopefully, not only Valenoy, but the club managers, the club owners will figure that out.
I have a personal question, because, when we speak to, regular people, Iranians who don't watch the domestic league regularly, the first thing that comes into their head is Persepolis and Esteghlal. However, that isn't the case anymore, as we see. We see now how Naft and Traktor, Sazi, and Sepa are the new kids on the block, and they're all challenging for the title. So my question to you guys is that, what does that entail for Persepolis and Esteghlal, because of their massive decline? Does that mean that, now the new big dogs are coming into town and we shouldn't be talking about them like we used to? Or what is it about? Sina?
Well, first of all, I don't think Sepan is a new kid on the block, if you want to it that way. They've won the title for many times in the last decade or so. So they're one of the giants. But in terms of Esteghlal and Persepolis, they will always be the two biggest clubs in terms of support in Iran, and young players will always grow up to play for them. So in that sense, I don't think it will change. But in terms of challenging for trophies, of course, I mean, Fulad won the league last season, and they've been very dominant in the last couple of years, and as I said, Sepahan's been there as well. With the introduction of Tractor Sazi and Nafti, the job is going to get harder for them. But I still expect them to, with a bit of stability in the structure of the club, they should be challenging easily for trophies. And I do expect them to come back. I mean, Persepolis went through a tough time in the last 3 years, but then again, they finished runners-up last season, and Esteghlal won the league a couple of years ago as well. So, I mean, they even reached the Champions League semi-final. So, I don't think we can fully write them off. But as you said, they are a bit of a decline, and they need to sort their problems out sooner rather than later.
Pezhman?
Well, for me, being interested in history and social studies, you can look at this in another way. The reason why Persepolis and Esteghlal are so big. I'm not going to any politics and so, but these two teams have been a part of the nationalization, or getting the national identity of the Iranian people, maybe the Iranian football fans, which is basically when it was at the biggest, at its highest, it was everybody, no matter if you were old, young, grandma, grandpa, young kid, you supported one of those teams, and it's a way to make sure that you know what people are up to. And also we had a really big Tehran focus in the Iranian history, the last maybe at least 100 years, making it that everything that comes from the capital of Iran is something to watch extra. And that's why teams such as Tractor Sazi are really patriotic about their club, because they feel that they don't get the attention that they deserve. Such teams also as Fulad being a strong voice for Khuzestan, such as Sanat Nafta Abadan. There are a lot of teams from other cities than Tehran that we only recently in media, I'm talking about maybe 10, 15 years, so it's not that recently, we've seen that they actually do have big amount of fans in those cities, but the Tehran focus have made Persepolis, Esteghlal bigger clubs than what they are when we talk about being football teams, because none of them, as we say, are fighting for the first spots.
So now talking about Tractor Sazi, Naf, and Sepan, we know these three big clubs now are challenging for the title. And Tractor's right now is 54 points, Naf is second with goal difference, and Sepan is only 1 point away from them. But now, before we get into talking about each team individually, I want to first touch on Naf. So we see that Ali Reza Mansouri's Naf led the title hunt for most of the season. So coming to you, Sina, what do you think about the team, considering that they lost the league on the final day of the season? Can they retain their title back?
I think this current Naf side is a production of years of stability at the club, which we have been talking about in the last 10 minutes. Some of the best managers in Iran right now have worked in Naf Tehran in the last 3 to 4 seasons, and we were talking about Hossein Faraki, Yahya Gol Mohammadi, Mansour Ibrahim Zadeh to a certain extent, and now Ali Reza Mansourian. They have a very good structure at the football club, and they have a very good young team as well. So I think if you consider everything that's taken place this season, maybe they do deserve it for the football that they've played, and considering how close they were to the title last season. I mean, they were top of the league going into the final day of the season, but they lost out. I think they lost to Sepahan in the final game, and they finished third. So I think that's made them even hungrier for the title. And again, considering the players that they have, I mean, you look at Alireza Bayram Band in goal, Alireza Zati in midfield, who's been a fantastic player from the season. He's been one of the more consistent players. And then you come on forward, the last was Ibrahimi, Iman Ali, who is I think the top assister in the league, and Rezai. These are players that some of them have experience of winning the league and playing for the Iranian national team. And you have young players such as Motahari and Bayram Band, as I said, and a couple of other names. So there's a good mix in there, and I think they probably do deserve it overall. But it's only the results that matter, and they need to get those results in the coming weeks. And they play Tartar Sazi in the very final game of the season in Tabriz, and that is pretty much a cup final. Whoever wins that game will be crowned champion. So I'm really looking forward to that game.
Pezhman, thoughts on that?
No, I think Sina did a great job there, and let's also congratulate them for getting through to the next round of the Champions League. They just became second in their group after 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats in a tough group. Not impossible, but for not having that experience, tough enough. So now they can look forward to more international experience in Asia, which is really important when you're a club that wants to get good players and work for long stability.
Now the second point we want to talk about is Tractor Sazi. They topped the league before the winter break, but they fired their manager Rasul Khatibi, and they brought back their former manager Tony Oliver, which is considered a big hero for Tractor Sazi. Was it a wise decision, Pezhman?
Well, since they can win the league, you can't say it wasn't a bad decision, but for me it was a strange decision. Khatibi had done good, not maybe super great, but good enough to stay at his job. So for me, I don't know what the main reason was for not letting Khatibi continue. Was it that they were afraid that he wouldn't be able to step up his game when the hard games came, or was it that the opportunity to get Tony back was more important than letting Khatibi stay, or maybe that they had some deal that he could be the assistant of Tony, and I don't see that happening. That you're a good coach and you're supposed to be an assistant coach, or you're a coach who's getting good results, and now you're supposed to be an assistant coach. I don't know if it's a good decision. I think it was an odd decision. I would rather see Khatibi getting that experience as a coach. But Tony is a Teraktor, a public hero, and also a guy that knows Iranian football and knows Teraktor. So he can very well be their superhero and get them the goal that they so long have waited for.
Sina, what would you say would make him deserve the title?
Well, first of all, I think, as Pezhman said, it was a decision. I think the decision was to let him go in the summer when he had just won the Hasfi Cup, the Iranian FA Cup with Teraktor. I'm talking about Tony Oliveira, who was there last season, and he won them the cup. But he left in the summer, and Khatibi came in and he did a good job. But just after the winter break, I think they went on a 4 games winless run, and they went down to 5th, and that really made them panic, thinking, well, we finished top of the league just before the winter break, and this is not what we wanted, and they made the decision to sack him and bring in Tony. If they win the league, then fair enough. The decision has been justified. But in terms of what makes him deserve the title, well, Tartar Sazi are one of the most supported clubs in Iran outside of the 2 Tehran clubs. We see them getting more than 70,000 people at the Yadigar Imam Stadium in Tabriz when they play the big boys of the league, if you like. And for me, they've been a bit of sleeping giants in our football. They've spent a lot of their times in the lower divisions, and now that they are one of the top teams, I think they do kind of deserve to win the league. And you look at the players. Of course, you have now Andrani Teimurian, who's been a big asset to them since he moved. He's been in 4 or 5 assists in the last 5 or 6 games from his throw-ins and corner kicks. The top goal scorer in the league, Adinho, plays for them. He's a fantastic. It's lovely to watch his movement. He's great, and they have a solid back four as well in Khalid Shafi'i, Habib Gordani. There's a new Brazilian defender, Celio dos Santos, who's done great as well. And they have a few good young players as well. Shaheen Sahibi is one that plays for Iran under 23s. So yeah, they do have the right mix in there as well. But listen, they've been top of the league in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I think when you go into the final two games leading the league and being top of the table, you should be very disappointed not to finish as champions. NAFTA would tell you that one. So it's really important to keep up the same form and wrap up the league and take the title to Tabriz.
Before we move on and talk about Sepahn, we have a question sent in from Abai_Anzali, and the question he asks is, your opinion about why Tractor plus NAF played without best players last ACL at home when both had good chances for winning playoff. So coming back to you, Sina, what would you say?
Well, I think Tractor have been a real disappointment in the Champions League in the last few seasons. I mean, this is the 3rd consecutive season in the Champions League, and they are yet to win an away game. So I think that is, for me, that's shocking, to be honest, because they keep getting knocked out in the group stages, and that affects the coefficients of the Champions League, which in the long term can reduce the representatives that we have in the Champions League to 3 from 4. So again, for the last match day, they were kind of already knocked out, and the fact that the title hunt is so close and so tight, I think Tony kind of prioritised the league over the Champions League, and maybe rightly so. It paid dividends on top of the league. As for NAFTA, I think at that moment of time, they were dropping points here and there, and that's when they lost the first spot in the league. So Mansourian must have thought to himself, I can't really afford to drop any more points in the league because of the Champions League. So I have to rest some of the players and try and win the game with my second string team. And NAFTA also have one of the smallest squads out of the top 5. A lot of their substitutes are under 23 players, and they're really inexperienced. So I think he got to a point where he had to change his first 11, otherwise the title challenge would have been affected even more.
Thank you. Now we're gonna go talk about Sepahn, and they slowly have crawled back into getting in top 3. And we saw Hossein Faraki replacing Kranjgar mid-season has galvanized the team in recent weeks, and they could very well end up as champions by the looks of things. So coming off to you, Pezhman, how would you describe their season so far, and do you think they could come and win the title?
Yeah, I do believe that they can win the title. And also another strange decision by a coach, this time not getting fired, but leaving himself. We still haven't heard any official explanation or any the truth, so to speak, of why Kranjgar left Sepahn. He had gotten some good results and was among many teams in the Iranian top flights that was a contender for the first spot. And he is also well respected among the players and among the fans. He's been in Iran long enough to know the game, so to speak. So Kranjgar left was a huge blow. So I'm actually kind of surprised that Faraki, although I respect Faraki, I think he's a good coach. I respect that he's gotten results good enough to take them all the way into the title race. And let's not forget, in my opinion, I think Sepahan have one of the strongest squads in the entire IPL. They have two goalkeepers who both had experience from the national team, Shahab Gordon and Rahman Ahmadi. They brought in Vuria Ghafouri, who's done good at the national level. And if I'm not mistaken, he was playing in NAF before, right? Sina?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so NAF lost both Purari Ganji and Ghafouri and still have managed to get some results. So all respect to them. But Ghafouri, Ehsan Haj Safi, Ali Karimi, not the original, so to speak, but the younger version, and Luciano Pereira, Hadi Aghili. This is all Mohamed Reza Khalatbari. This is all game-changing players, and when they play with their strongest squad, it's, in my opinion, the strongest 11 you can have in the Iranian national, in the Iranian Pro League. And Faraki have managed to somehow get results when other teams have failed. Fulad Khuzestan and Esteghlal Tehran, they were two major contenders just a couple of weeks ago, but both have failed to get results, while Sepahan have, being just behind them and struck like a cobra when it's had the opportunity. And now, all of a sudden, Sepahan can very well win the game, especially since Naft and Teraktor are playing the last game against each other. So a draw there would be perfect for Sepahan to snatch the title away from these two major contenders that have been along all the season.
So, what would you say are the key points that got Sepahan returning to the top of the table?
Well, I think their return to the top has been kind of under the radar. No one expected them to get back in it. I mean, over a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, there was a cause from the stands, from the fans, for Faraki to be sacked because of some poor results. But he turned it around, and I think I certainly put that down to the change of tactics and the way they play. I mean, if you've watched Sepahan in the last few weeks, you don't say this often about Iranian clubs, but they've been a pleasure to watch. The front four of Muharram and Avid, who's crucial to this team. He's been out with injuries throughout his career, but in the last few months he's managed to stay fit and play regularly, and he's been a key. Him in midfield, and then you have a combination of Khaled Bari, Mehdi Sharifi, and Luciano Pereira playing further forward, and they just, I don't think there is any defence in the league who can really stop them. There's always movement. Then you have Navid Kiyot and sometimes Ali Karimi behind them who can pick a pass. So it's been great. I think that's one of the main reasons why they are where they are. And I think they have one of the easiest fixtures going into the final 2 weeks. So if Teraktor and NAF do slip up, I fully expect Sepahan to catch them up and win the league against the odds. I think if you would have told anyone that 2 months ago that Sepahan would win the title, maybe they'd win the title, they wouldn't believe you. But Faraki has done a good job turning their fortunes around, and as Pezhman said, they have one of the strongest squads in the league, and I wouldn't be surprised if they actually won it.
So, guys, now we want to go ahead.
Sorry, and one more thing. Let's not forget that Sepahan is one of few clubs that actually is well managed. We can see that by players actually wanting to stay in the club. That's good receipts for the management in the club. And they have a really good Sepahan Novin, a young squad. So there's an idea of having a good, strong academy with a lot of young players, such as Neft as well. But the young players coming up and a mix with them and the experienced players. Although they have some major problems with their stadium that was supposed to be finished like a couple of years ago, this still is far from finished. But they're a club that is well managed in Esteghlal. So I think the other teams should watch and learn from Sepahan. What are they doing that makes players want to stay there, and they seem to be in harmony.
So now we want to talk about the 6 teams that are. This is a really interesting thing with the regulation battles going on. 6 teams are in a fight for survival, and there are only obviously 2 regulation spots in the IPL. And this consists of right now the Masjid Suleiman with 22 points, Rahan with 25 points, and Peykan with 25 points once again, and who currently lay in regulation playoff spot, which also consists of Esteghlal, Khuzestan, Malavan, and Gostarish Fulad, which they're also in danger of getting relegated. So coming back to you, Pezhman, who do you think will get relegated and why?
I think Nafti Masjid Suleiman for sure. I mean, they have won 3 games out of 28. But you know, these kind of teams, all of a sudden in the last 2 games, they get a new breath all of a sudden and become a different team. But they still basically have to win both their games. And considering that they have won 3 games out of 28, I can't really see that happening. Even if no matter which team they would play against, I can't see Nafti Masjid Suleiman winning 2 games in a row, which they haven't done since they were in Azad League. That's my first pick. My second pick is, I think, it's a tough one. Rahan, they've actually played some good football recently, but have got some results. But the question is would that be enough? Would they have, be cool enough to manage to get the other points? I think it's somewhere between Esteghlal, Khuzestan, and Rahan. I think Peykan will do it in the last game.
Sina?
I agree with Pezhman over Nafti Masjid Suleiman. I think they're now 4 points from safety, 4 points away from safety, and their next game is away to Sepahan, and if they lose that one, then they are relegated. So I can't see them doing that. I think it will take more than a miracle for them to stay up. So for me, that they'd finish bottom, and I think it's going to be Peykan who would get relegated. They haven't won a game since October, and they're in a shocking run of form. They play out without confidence, and it's one of those forms that if you see it in one of the leagues in Europe, they tell you it smells of relegation more or less. So I think they'd take the second relegation spot. Rahan, they've done quite well since Farhad Kazemi coming in. He's turned them around. They were 4th of the table when he arrived, and now they're on points with Peykan and could very much get themselves out of that relegation zone. But I think for me personally, special mention has to go to Malavan. They were at the bottom of the league. Before the winter break, I think they only had 8 or 9 points, and Firouz Karimi is the 3rd manager, and since he's come in, he's really turned it around. They
won like 3 or 4 games in a row, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they've done quite well. I mean, you watched them against Esteghlal. I watched them against Esteghlal, not last game, the game before, and they were really organised, and they're really frustrated Esteghlal at home, and they managed to get a draw against Fulad as well last week. So for me, they're safe, and as are Gostarish Fulad. But as Pezhman said, Esteghlal and Khuzestan are in trouble. But for me, Peykan and Naft are to be relegated.
So looking at these 6 teams, which one would you say are the most underachieving ones? And is that what you expect and where to be right now? Pezhman?
Just one thing. Peykan and Rahan are actually playing against each other next game. So basically, the winner of that clash will survive. It will be a lovely game to watch. But talking about the underachiever from those clubs, I don't know. I think we expected a lot of those teams to actually be down there. Peykan had a idea of getting good players from Esteghlal, Jayloid Samuel and Mehdi Ramati, and they had a couple of name players. So they themselves expected to be higher up in the league. So for me, that's that's a disappointment. But I really didn't believe in the Paycon project from the beginning, so I'm not that surprised that they're still down there. I mean, they only managed to score 13 goals. That's less than a goal in each in 2 games. So 28 games, 13 goals. Although, let's not forget, they have one of the strongest defenses. That's really strange. They have let in 25 goals, which is the least goals conceded after Fulad Khuzestan. So Traktor and Naft and Sepahan and all other teams basically have conceded the same amount or more goals than Paycon. But in football you have to score more than you concede, so that's why Paycon are down there. So for me, Paycon is a big disappointment.
Sina?
As Pezhman just said, I think they have been the biggest disappointment. Especially when you're down there, you always look for goal scorers to get yourself out of trouble, and they have none. Considering they had a good start to the season at the beginning, I mean, I think mid-table, but it started going downwards around November time, and as I said, they haven't been able to win a game since then. So I'm really disappointed by them. But another one is Malabon. I mean, we did say they're safe now, but they had a very good season last season under the current Fulad manager, Dragan Skocic, and although they lost a lot of players, but I still expected them to do better. There was a few problems with a couple of players on the pitch. I mean, Mehrdad Oladi kind of retired halfway through the season. Maziar Zare also was walking off the pitch in one of the games. So there was a real hectic situation.
But he saved a great penalty when your keeper get a red card. So maybe he just needs to switch position.
But I think overall I was kind of disappointed by them as well. But it's good to see them staying in. I think they're one of the well-supported clubs in the league, and they deserve to stay.
Talking about disappointments, we saw last season Fulham won the league, and now they've slowly slipped away from top 3. Are you disappointed by them, you guys? I'm going to start off this one with Sina.
A little bit. I think as defending champions, you would expect them to challenge for the title, and they did so in the last until the last couple of games. But when you go deeper when you dig deeper, you realise that they've missed a lot of players since January. I mean, one of the top goal scorers in the first half of the season in the entire league was Surshad Afghi, who we saw in the Asian Cup as well play for Iran. But he hasn't been able to play since January because of military service issues. Neither has Bakhtiar Rahmani, who's also had injury problems as well, and a couple of other players too. They've also lost a few players, such as Sosha Makani, who plays for Persepolis. I know he's had an absolutely horrible season, but last season he was one of the top goalkeepers in Iran. They've also lost a few other players, such as Padovani as well, one of the centre-backs who currently plays for Naft, and their manager, Hossein Faraki. So there was a lot of change in the club. But I think, as I said, when you dig deeper, you wouldn't be as disappointed as you would be with just looking at the table and comparing it to last season. And in regards to their manager, I think Skocic is one of the good managers in the league right now, and I think they should stick with him regardless of what happens this season.
So, Pezhman, talking about if you're disappointed by them, as right now Sina mentioned, Skocic, how would you describe the job he's done with Fulham?
Good enough to stay in Fulham for another season or two at least. Sure, we would love to see Fulham in the title race, but yeah, it's for me, Fulham is a team that have always have a couple of really good players, and if those players are not either playing or maybe are injured or military problems or whatever, they can slip down. But for me, I think the main reason why teams such as Fulad and maybe even Esteghlal are going down a little bit is another Esfahani team that is Zobahan that have been an amazing team. They haven't lost since October, I think, and are now in fourth place in the Iranian league. So it's not that Fulad have been that bad. It's more that a team such as Zobahan that all of a sudden became like a super team in the second half of the season became so good. Fulad also had some games in the Champions League which took more energy than it gave them. So they lost both the Champions League and the title. So I would say more that it's an experience that they will have to deal with, and it can hopefully they can benefit from it next year being even stronger. But for me, I really want to talk more about. I really want to talk more about Zobahan, or at least mention them that they have been, for me, the best team in the second half of the season, and now just being behind the top three.
Yeah, so you just pinpoint about Zobahan, which we're gonna get to, which is our next topic of discussion under the guidance of Yagol Mohammadi. You know, they're a team right now in great form, and they were just a bottom six club, but then now reverted back into being a top 4 team, which is amazing, and that shows the stagger of work he's done. So coming off to you first, Sina, is what have been the key points in this team under the guidance of Yagol Mohammadi?
Well, I think Pezhman kind of alluded to it. I think he's done a great job in the second half of the season. First half of the season wasn't as great. They were, I think, bottom half of the table. But in the last 4 or 5 months, especially after the winter break, he's completely turned it around. And they play a very high-pressing football game because most of the players are young players and they have a lot of energy. And then you have the likes of Osama Haddadi, who's probably one of the best in the league in terms of sitting and spreading the game and intercepting moves. So when you have that kind of player and a player like Rajab Zadeh, who's 37, 38, but is still going strong. In 2009, I think it was when they reached the Champions League final. There's a great mix in there, and we saw against Naft a few weeks ago when they won 5-3, and they tormented the Naft backline with quick counters with a player named Kaber Rezai, a friend who is one of the fastest strikers in the league as well. So they have the right combination, they play the right football, and Gul Mohammadi, a lot of people questioned his decision to go to Zobahan last summer when he left Naft Tehran. But I think that decision has been fully justified now, considering the football they play and where they are in the league, and they were even challenging for a top 4 finish. And they're also in the cup final as well, and they play Naft Tehran I think in 2 or 3 weeks' time. So they could very well end up 4th, and with the Hasfi Cup in the bag as well, and a Champions League spot. So what a job he's done if he manages to achieve that.
Pezhman, who are yours notable standouts coming from Zobahan?
Sorry, I didn't hear it. One more time.
The notable players that are coming out of Zobahan for you, who have they been this season?
Well, I think Sina said it greatly, and Rajab Zadeh, an old favorite of mine. I don't know if he's been the most notable one, but considering his age and considering how he still manages to score a lot of goals, it's interesting for me. But I will this time actually pick out the coach, Gul Mohammadi. He's shown himself, and maybe, just maybe, he could be interesting enough for a future spot in the Iranian national team, being maybe the under 23s, or maybe for like after Kairosh, he will have something to do. It's hard to say, but I will this time pick out the coach instead for any player.
So now, guys, this is our final discussion we want to talk about. With only 2 weeks left till the end of the season, which teams have been the over and under achievers for you? Sina?
Well, it's a tough. It's a tough one. That one. Overachievers. I think the team that we've just spoke of, Zobahan. I think when you look at the table right now, considering where they were this time last season, I think it's a fantastic turnaround for them. So, for me, they are the overachievers, and I think we should be seeing more from them next season. I mean, as we just said, they have a very young squad. I mean, players, as I said, such as Kader Rezai, Masoud Hassanzadeh is another one, a striker who featured for Team Melli in the last friendlies. Sana Pahlavan, these players play for Iran under 23s and play for Zobahan week in, week out, and it's fantastic to see. So yeah, for me, they are the overachievers. I think the underachievers are the first thing that we spoke of, Persepolis. I think it's a really horrible fall from grace for them, considering they finished runners-up last season, and to see where they are now. I mean, some people were even talking of a relegation battle. I mean, if they would have lost last week and a couple of games that they drew, they would have very much been in the relegation battle. But they're sitting in mid-table, and I think when you look into how their season has gone, week in, week out, I think it's been absolutely horrible, and hopefully it can get better for them next season.
What about for you, Pezhman?
Well, yeah, of course, Zobahan, but I will actually say Naft Tehran, because they went into this year's competition with, they had a good results last year, but would it be good enough this year? They were maybe even better, and that's even after losing two of their best defenders, Uriya Ghafouri and Mortaza Pouraliganji, relying heavily on young players such as Vahid Amiri and Beiran Vand in goal. That's really overachieving, and still managing to get results in the Champions League and go to the next round. So for me, that's a huge overachiever. The underachiever is by far Persepolis, considering first of all what they were thinking of how to end, like at least in the top three, and the players that they had, and the ambitions and whatnot. So Persepolis, I think Sina summoned it greatly. Really, really poor, and they were not far from relegation just like 4 weeks ago.
Which players caught your eye during the season, Sina?
There's been a few, but I think Adinho is one that I've already kind of mentioned. He played for Messi Kerman last season. Although they were relegated, he was really in demand by pretty much all the top teams in the league. I mean, even Esteghlal were close to signing him, and he chose to go to Traktor Sazi, and he has a really, really good relationship with Traktor fans, and they love him over there, and he's a top goal scorer with, I think, 18 goals now, and when you watch him, his movement, his understanding of the game, the way he links up with the Traktor midfielders is absolutely fantastic. So for me, he's been a highlight. Iman Ali as well for Naft is one of those that kind of goes unnoticed, but he's one of the I think maybe second or third highest assists in the league, and most of the goals that Naft score go through him. Even if he doesn't get the last touch before the goal, he has some kind of say in the build-up play. But out of the young players, I think a lot of the young players have been mentioned in the last few weeks. But one player that I want to mention, and ironically comes from Persepolis, is a player named Ahmad Nurullahi. They had Reza Hairi at the defensive midfield last season, but he left. I think he was in winter when he had a lot of problems with the club, and they brought in a player named Ahmad Nurullahi, and I think he's 21, if I'm not wrong. And he's absolutely fantastic. He's one of those defensive midfielders that you don't appreciate him unless you watch him closely and you see the job that he's doing in a Persepolis team that has been absolutely full of players who play out of form. They don't deserve to play for Persepolis, if you want to say it that way. Nurullahi has been absolutely great, and I think we will hear a lot more from him. And he plays for Iran under 23s. He's played for the lower levels of Iranian national team. So in the next few years, I think we will definitely see more from him.
What about you, Pezhman?
I would actually say Sajjad Shahbazadeh, the goal scorer, the best goal for Esteghlal. I think he scored 12 goals or something. I've seen him play a couple of games. I mean, he really doesn't do much than score goals, but then again, that's what he's paid for. And he's been the best one in Esteghlal. I would say he have making the most out of the opportunities that he got, Shahbazadeh. So for me, it was really fun and interesting to see him grow. But when we talk about Esteghlal, nobody, I think, mentions Shahbazadeh as the best or biggest or most important player, but he's the one that scored most goals, and he scored like a goal here, a goal there, and he's not really in. He's not a game changer. Or maybe that's his problem. But if he continues to be this dangerous attacker or dangerous goal scorer, like maybe Ruud van Nistelrooy, he didn't do much, but he knew how to score. That's my answer to your question.
And the next question, which should be pretty an easy one, who was your best foreign player of the season? Sina?
Who was what? Sorry.
Best foreign player in the league.
Oh, as I just mentioned, I think
Edinho.
There's a few options. I mean, Edinho is one. Luciano, who I mentioned for Sepahan, is another one. He scored 6 goals in the last 4 games, and he scored a brace in the last 2 games as well. So he's one. And Esteglal's winger, Karar Jasem, I think he's a controversial player, but he's been influential for this Esteghlal team. I mean, before the winter break, there was a few games when he was injured. He missed around 3 weeks, and Esteghlal couldn't win in those 3 games because he's the one that links their game from midfield to attack. And putting aside the controversies that he's been involved with, I think he's been one of the good performers in the league.
What about you, Pezhman?
I agree. By far, Luciano. I'm talking about Edinho. I think Padovani have been really, Leandro Padovani for Naft have been really crucial for his team. And also Fulad's player, and I think it's called Nong, but he has like this artist name. Is it like Chuba or something like that? I don't quite remember. He scored some really nice goals, and he's a strong and fast player. But of course, Eder Luciano, damn it, by far, number 1.
My final question to you guys is, if you had to choose one player this season in the Persian Gulf League who was supposedly the best player in the league, who would that be? Pezhman?
The best player in the league?
This season.
You caught me there. I don't know. I think like the best player in the league would be who's been most crucial for his team. That's how I see it. And then maybe I would reach so far that say that Naft's goalkeeper Behran Vand, who's despite his young age and despite his I would say inexperience, still is a really active goal player. He talks a lot with his players and have them under his control. But I think he's just one of many. But Behran Vand, why not?
Sina?
I agree. I think when it comes to these type of things, you have to look at who can potentially win the league and who's been their main player. As Pezhman said, Behran Vand has been really important to them. There's also a couple of other names in the NAF team. I think One of them is Ali Reza Izzati, the captain who I've already mentioned. He's been, I think, the most consistent player in the NAF team this season, and he's been really crucial for them, as has been Wahid Amiri. He's always a threat when he plays. He scores goals from a left wing position that he plays, and he's one of the best players in the league, and it's because of those performances in the NAF shirt that he got the attention from Carlos Queiroz, and he played for Team Melli in the Asian Cup. But when you look at Traktor Sazi, for example, again, Adinho, he's one that is mentioned. Habib Gordani as well, their captain. Although he's a left back, I think off the pitch he's been influential. Putting aside the issues that he's had with the club in the last couple of weeks, I think he's been important. So yeah, I think those names will definitely be mentioned. I mean, if Sepahan does win the league, we've already mentioned a few names such as Khaled Bari, Navid Kia, but Hadi Aghili is another one. He's one of the best centre backs even now in the league, and if they do manage to win it, I think he'll be another one with a shout.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys coming on, giving your insights. Thank you guys, and once again, if you guys want to like our page on Facebook, subscribe to ours, we'll greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment and stuff. And once again, thank you, Sina. Thank you, Pezhman, for always giving your great insights and opinions. We really appreciate it. And have a good day.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pasha. Great work.
Cheers, guys.